welcome to a wonderful training all about the no list and kind of understanding how the products work, okay? I'm just gonna give you a quick overview, layman's terms, because this is something that I get asked a lot, is Monat safe for color treated hair? Well, what about a perm? Well, what about a Brazilian blowout? Well, what about extensions? Okay, long story short, what you need to know is that Monat is one of the gentlest things you can use on your hair and one of the best things you can use on your hair, no matter what, okay? No matter what. Now, this doesn't mean that it's gonna make your hair, you know, a superhero and like super full of power and be able to get like bleached and all this heat on it. No, it doesn't do that, but it does actually help. It's gonna make it the most integrous as possible, okay? That's all I can really say about that. So you do have to turn down the heat. You do have to let your stylist know, like if you do get bleach, that your color is gonna process quicker because the color doesn't have to break through a barrier on your hair, which is what we're gonna get into today, is what is that barrier on your hair and why does Monat not have it? You know, when people say, oh, Monat coats the hair. Nope, it doesn't. So Lindsay's gonna share more about that. For me, I'm just gonna tell you guys a story of a couple things, okay? First and foremost, my blondes, since transitioning to Monat, okay, girls that I'd have to bump with heat, they had a hard time lifting to, you know, past that yellow into the pale, pretty blonde colors that you really want. They had a hard time doing that, and that was because of what they were using. And they were using stuff that coats the hair, like a petroleum byproduct or a wax, and Lindsay's gonna break down all those things. But what those do is kind of encapsulate the strand. So the bleach or the color, you know, it has to penetrate through that to even get to the hair, which is why we have a harder time opening the cuticle and getting a prettier shade. I have a girlfriend who didn't want to like Monat, she's a hairstylist, and a redhead, and has to color her hair roots to ends because her roots are about the same color as mine, and she's like a gingery, you know, beautiful redhead. And she'd have to color her hair roots to ends every 5-6 weeks because it would fade. And why did it fade? It wasn't just that, oh, reds fade. It was all the buildup on her hair, that wax, that was what was penetrating the hair color or soaking up most of it. So then it fades off as the waxy buildup like fades off the hair, okay? So that red, once she fully transitioned to Monat, her ends look just as vibrant 6 weeks later as they did when she first colored it. All she needed to do was her roots. So she was no longer wasting all that color here, and it was actually, she couldn't believe how vibrant it still was 6 weeks later. And that's like one of the great testimonies to this actually can help your color last longer because if the color is able to go into the hair shaft and do its job, okay? And bleach and toners is a whole nother ball game. But with toner, it's the same thing. Once you bleach it up and you put that color pigment in the hair, it's gonna bleach sooner and quicker with your, sorry, the chat's distracting me. I love you all. I literally have like, what are they saying? You know, like, hi, Mandy. But bleach and color, so it's gonna help you lift quicker. And that's not what we're talking about today, but it is important to know that, you know, you're not coating your hair, so you do need to turn down the heat and, you know, high ammonia, high developer levels for great coverage and stuff like that. You want to like kind of tone those down as well. So that's really just what I wanted to share with you guys, just so you know, like this stuff is really great. I have people that understand all the things about Monat, but then they still go, well, is it safe for color treated? What do we have for color treated? I'm like, it's all safe for color treated, okay? Like that's the whole base of this whole thing, is that it's one of the gentlest things you can use. And I know it's scary to start recommending things, so that's why we wanted to do this. And I'm so glad that Lindsay agreed to partnering with me to do this. And I told her, don't worry, there's only gonna be like 80 people here. We have almost 300. You're on, Lindsay girl. Okay, I'm gonna pass it over to her. And you guys, it's a lot. It's going to be a lot of information coming at you. So, but it's just so good. It's so good. Even just on the little voice memos we were sending back and forth, and when she gets going, I'm like, ooh, this is so good, because you're going to have something to like back when people start saying, you know, nitty gritty and nitpicking our products ingredients and pretending they're a scientist. Okay. Cause they're not. They can read a back of a label. Awesome. Okay. And we're going to equip you. So I'm going to pass the baton over. Let me spotlight Lynn.
Hello, guys. Okay,
Oh, wait, we cannot hear you. What happened?
You can't? Can you hear me now?
No, I don't know what happened. Oh, someone else can hear you. I just can't.
Oh, you can't hear me.
Oh, everyone can hear you. Just me. All right.
Oh, weird. Well, I want you to be able to hear me, but, well, okay. Well, guys, I'm so excited. I hear somebody.
That's why. That was me. That's why I couldn't hear you, because I turned down. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Carry on.
Okay. All right, so you guys all can hear me just before I start. Okay, I'm coming at you in a sling here. I'm going to give you guys a quick background on me. And sorry if it's a little echoey in here. My name is Lindsay June. My dog is now chewing something, sorry. So I've been in Monat it'll be 4 years in September. I've been a stylist for about 12 years now. I own my own salon out of my home. I love it. I wouldn't do it any other way. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna try very hard not to look at the comments right now because I'm gonna get so distracted because we have so much stuff to go over. So I spent like hours the other day, took an Adderall. I was all geeking out. I was like super pumped to like really learn in depth like what Monat says no to and exactly what those no's are. Because I think it's really great, you know, to say, oh, we don't use parabens, we don't use sulfates, we use this. But if you don't exactly even know what those are, like it's kind of like ignorant to make those claims like, we don't have this. And then someone's like, well, what does that do? And then you're like, I don't know. So I like spent hours figuring out all this stuff, how it even applies to hair color, how it affects, you know, the scalp, skin, how it affects your organs, all sorts of stuff. Because it's really crazy what the FDA, at least in America, does not regulate on. It's pretty terrifying. And now it's also important to know, guys, that like every ingredient, it depends on like every ingredient that you see on a label. It depends like the temperature that ingredient was, you know, derived at, the amount of molecules in it, the atoms, the electrons, the protons, which all of us don't know that stuff. The formulators know that in all these hair care brands, but it is important to know that like mixing an ingredient with another ingredient that like diffuses any negative effects of the ingredient. There's all sorts of different like formulations, but I just wanted to focus on what Monat specifically says no to. So the first one I'm gonna go, so get your pens and papers, and this is gonna be recorded. But the first one we're gonna go over is parabens, because that's the one we hear of like the most, parabens and sulfates, right? Well, you know, I've been a hairstylist for years and I always knew, you know, oh yeah, no parabens, but I didn't even necessarily know exactly what parabens like were and what they did, besides that they were like a preservative. Okay, so basically that's what a paraben is. It's a synthetic chemical preservative. And a lot of these ingredients that are not good in hair care brands, the majority of them are preservatives. And the reason that they, you know, obviously put preservatives in so many products is obviously to increase their shelf life. I mean, you obviously can't have, like, if a hair care brand were to say we are completely organic, all natural, which all of you that say that Monat is all natural, that is false. It is naturally based, but in order for like a cosmetic brand to be like organic and completely natural, you would have to refrigerate it. Like it would not last long at all. It has to have some kind of shelf life, right? And so parabens are one of the main things that give a longer shelf life. It prevents bacteria, mold, all the things, okay? And so parabens are actually derived from a chemical, and guys, forgive my like pronunciations of these words. I am no scientist, okay? But the chemical that it's derived from is a para-hydroxybenzoic acid. So it's like a PHBA. And I'm sorry if I'm going really fast. This will be recorded so you can go back through and, you know, get all your notes perfect. But it occurs, actually, parabens occur naturally in many fruits and vegetables, like blueberries and carrots. And so we're actually ingesting parabens like on a daily basis. So parabens in themselves, in their natural form, aren't necessarily, you know, terrible for you. But here's the thing. They're also naturally formed in the human body by the breakdown of some amino acids in our body. So they're widely used because they're effective, they're hypoallergenic, and they're cheap. The reason that parabens are used is because it's cheap for hair care brands to use them to prolong the shelf life of their products. But because preservatives or parabens are found in so much, like food, drugs, medications, cosmetics, and other personal care products, paraben exposure occurs when, you know, products are swallowed or absorbed. And since 90% of common items found in grocery stores contain parabens, it starts to build up in our system and starts to build up in our bloodstream. And you all know that, you know, your scalp is one of the most porous parts of your body because of all of the dense hair follicles we have on our head. I truly don't know why we have so much more hair here than anywhere, you know, else besides, you know, like our hormonal areas. Like, I really don't understand why, but it's, you know, that is how it is. I think it also is a sun protection thing for our scalp. But parabens are thought to be endocrine disrupting chemicals, meaning they mimic hormones. So the body may treat a paraben like a hormone. And so that's why parabens have been linked to breast cancer, because they've seen in so many breast cancer cells that parabens act like estrogen. So that's why parabens are not good. I mean, we're already consuming them in so much stuff that you want to, obviously, you know, in a very porous area, you want to keep your paraben levels down as much as you can. And I know it's not one of those where you can just, you know, read, oh my God, let me look at my blueberry ingredients and see if there's a paraben in this. You know, I mean, there's naturally occurring parabens everywhere, but the synthetic chemical derived ones just aren't good for you. So next we're going to go to sulfates. And this is what is very bad for hair color. It's not good for color treated or keratin treated hair. And this is why. So first we're going to go over, Monat says no to SLS and SLES. So an SLS is a sodium lauryl sulfate. And so just SLS, just write that down because it's easier. So Monat, instead of using sodium lauryl sulfate or sodium laureth sulfate, we use sulfonates, which are different from sulfates. So sulfates must act at like a higher pH level. And so it's not very good for your skin and hair. Sulfonates are at a lower pH level, which more mimic our body's own natural pH level, okay? So sodium lauryl sulfate, these are detergents. These are your cleansing agents that get rid of the dirt and debris and all the stuff on the hair, but they're very harsh. So sodium lauryl sulfate, it's the detergent that gets it super sudsy. It's very harsh. It can cause, you know, scalp sores, irritants, all that stuff. It's cheap and easy to produce. Again, this is why these companies have them, is because they're super duper cheap. If you look on, and I'm not one to bash any other hair care lines because, you know, I don't think that you have to bash other lines in order to make yours shine. But like drugstore shampoos, I feel like that's a different ballgame because those aren't stylist products. Those aren't professional brands. Pantene, Tresemme, all those have the sodium lauryl sulfate. If you look on the back, or sodium laureth sulfate, they're way harsher on the hair. And that's why it's so hard for people that use these drugstore products to get their hair colored and for it to perform, for it to last. And this is why. So sodium lauryl sulfate, basically what it does is it causes your hair strands to swell. And so when your hair strands swell, and your hair is kind of like, you know, a Christmas tree, right? Kind of the cuticles all stack on each other. So when it swells, moisture seeps out. So that is why these companies that have sodium lauryl sulfate, they have to do a lot of waxes, a lot of silicones, a lot of stuff to coat the hair to make it appear cosmetically like it's shiny and healthy when it's actually really dry, because that moisture is seeping out. And the same thing happens with color. So when these people are using these products with sodium lauryl sulfate and sodium laureth sulfate, their color's not lasting as long because it is seeping out constantly with every single wash. And so when I never used to have like pink, purple, fun hair, like I had super dark hair whenever I started Monat, like level 4 color. If you're a stylist, you know, it's pretty dark. So now I'm embracing my natural, but you know, I've been blonde, I've been pink, I've been purple, all the things. And my vibrant colors, you guys, lasted so long with Monat. Obviously, you know, in the scalp area where you're scrubbing and all that, that didn't last as long because you're manipulating that, you're scrubbing it, the heat's really on there. But on my ends, I had like pink and purple for up to like 3 months. And with my clients that use drugstore shampoos, within the week, they were messaging me like, my purple's gone. And I'm like, well, like, sorry to say, but when you're using drugstore shampoos, your color is not going to last as long because it's just seeping out. So it's really important to know that sulfates are responsible for 80% of color fade. So pretty freaking crazy. So sodium laureth sulfate, which is SLES, is partly water soluble and partly oil soluble, meaning like it allows water and oil to mix. Because typically, water and oil, like oil would just sit on the water, correct? So it's a little less harsh than a sodium lauryl sulfate, but it still can cause irritation. And so we derive our suds from coconut oil. So ours is more of a naturally based surfactant. So I cannot pronounce this at all. Cocamidopropyl betaine is what we use. And so it is a much more mild surfactant than these that, really can cause irritation and make your hair color go down the drain. Why are you gonna, I always tell my clients behind the chair, I'm like, why are you gonna spend $180 on your hair color, but only spend, $6 on your shampoo, and that $180 color is just going down the drain? Like, your color can last so much longer and really truly penetrate the hair shaft if you're using a more quality product that does not have such harsh surfactants in it. So next, we're gonna go to cyclic silicones. So here's the thing, a lot of people say that Monat does not have silicones. That is actually false, you guys. Monat does have silicones, but we have plant-based silicones that are not going to coat the hair. So the problem with silicones, and they're cyclic silicones, the ones that are real bad, okay? Cyclic silicones is actually derived from silicon, which is a mineral sand element, which I had no idea. I thought that was pretty interesting. So it provides shine and lubrication, helps with detangling, and I think that's why a lot of people, when they start Monat, they feel their hair's a little more tangly, right? And that's why a knot detangler is amazing. So I love the unknot detangler, especially because it has that fiber rescue in it to help repair the hair while it's detangling. So a lot of people say, with Monat, they don't get as much slip or grip or whatnot. And so that's why I say always use our styling products to kind of add in that slip and grip before you brush, and then your hair's going to brush like a charm. But so cyclic silicones are not good because they have reproductive toxicity and endocrine disruption, so hormone disruption, guys. So, and it builds up on the hair, and it builds up in water. It's so bad for the environment. You're basically putting plastic down the drain. It's going into our water. Our fish and marine life are all eating it. Then we're all eating it when we eat marine life. I mean, it's really mind-blowing to think of what our products honestly are doing for our marine life is really sad. So cyclic silicones are not water soluble. So like they stick, they build up, they don't want to remove from the hair, okay? So we use MO dimethicone, so AMO dimethicone. So usually when you see the word cone at the end of a word, it is in the silicone family, but ours does not build up on the hair because it is water soluble. And it belongs to an amino functional group of siloxanes instead of pure silicones. So it does not build up on the hair because of its positive charge. So for those of you that have always heard, like with this is like a little bit different, but like with our Rejuva beads, how we say how it creates like a positive and negative charge, and that's what makes your split ends cling together. So this is kind of how like our amodimethicone works, is that it's due to the positive, highly positive charge in the dimethicone. It repels any extra strands that try to latch on, so it does not create buildup. So it's constantly removing itself with every wash. So that's why it's so much better than a cyclic silicone. And so I thought that was really interesting, because when I first started, I was like, we don't use silicones, we don't use silicones. And the more I researched, we do use silicones, but we use a naturally based silicone that does not build up on the hair. So pretty fascinating, right? So next one, BHT. So the real word for this, and I'm gonna botch this, but is butylated hydroxytoluene. So it's an antioxidant preservative, okay? So again, guys, these ingredients on their own aren't always necessarily toxic, but when they're formulated and mixed with other things too, and put on our bodies every single day, that's when they're not so great, right? So what I found interesting about BHT is that it is used to treat herpes and AIDS in medicine. Now, I don't know why you would put that on in your hair or skin, but you know, the thing is, it causes a lot of skin irritations. It causes a lot of allergies. In rats, they found that there was a lot of liver and lung cancer and tons of tumors that were being promoted due to BHTs, and also upper respiratory tract irritation in a lot of people. It's also an endocrine disruptor, so it disrupts your hormones. And then when the body metabolizes BHT, it creates free radicals in your body that can cause damage to your organs. So BHT, no, don't want it. Next one. DEA and MEA. A lot of times these are your foaming agents in cosmetic products. So DEA is a pH balancer. So a lot of products that have these, you know, like parabens and sulfates and all these things that can disrupt your pH levels, a lot of companies put in DEAs to help balance that out. So I always say, you know, why have a super harsh ingredient that you're having to balance out with another ingredient? Like, why not just use a less harsh ingredient, right? But a lot of these are preservatives. So DEA is a foaming agent. It's a carcinogen. This one creeped me out. So this one affects the male reproductive health by altering sperm structure. So it actually causes abnormalities that affect the way a little spermie swims to a fertilized egg. So it can cause infertility in men. And like, ugh, I'm trying to get pregnant, guys. Like I was supposed to be getting married May 30th. It got bumped to August 15th because of the wedding, or because of the virus, but I'm trying to make some babies. And my fiance uses Head and Shoulders as body wash, and I'm guaranteed that that's in there. So trying to get him off the drugs, or he does use Monat Black on his hair though. But here's the thing. So it can cause organ toxicity and tremors, and also suggests memory function and brain development in offspring can be permanently affected by mother's exposure to DEA. So that's pretty terrifying, because I know that when we're pregnant, well, when y'all are pregnant, I've never been pregnant before, but when women are pregnant, you know, we are so much more self-conscious of what we're putting on our bodies, because with research, we have found that so many products actually do affect our offspring, and that's really terrifying. So the next one is MEA. So this one affects hair color. So MEA is another foaming agent that is made from fatty acids and coconut oil. So it causes dermatitis, large doses build up in the system, making it a carcinogen. It's a preservative, it's flammable, and it's corrosive. So in hair color, MEA is ammonia. So a lot of, like, especially when women are pregnant, you want to try and use ammonia-free colors, ammonia-free bleach, all that stuff. So what ammonia does, and that's MEA, so what it does is it opens the cuticle so that permanent hair color can penetrate. So ammonia is a chemical alkalizer, so it kind of, it's needed in permanent hair color to really get it to stick. So Cocamide MEA is in a lot of hair colors, in a lot of hair care brands. So pretty interesting, right? I mean, this stuff's kind of freaky. So next one, phthalates. And this one's spelled PHTHALATES. So phthalates, they are plasticizers. So they're basically dispersants in products that reduce brittleness, cracking, stiffness in products like nail polish, hairspray, allowing them to form a flexible film. It's also in shampoos and conditioners. So a whole bunch of, you know, plastic, guys. So I always say, like, a lot of times people have said in the past, like, oh, my refinish control hairspray always like stiffens up and gets gunky and gets plasticky. That's because we don't have phthalates that are in there that create that loose film to make it, you know, perform better, but yet you're just friggin' spraying toxic crap all over yourself. So it's also used to soften PVC plastic. So this one causes birth defects because of hormone disruption. It's a solvent in cosmetics. It can damage the liver, kidneys, lungs, and reproductive system. It causes sperm abnormalities and lower testosterone. It's extremely harmful to babies, causes male infertility and reduced sex hormones with the lower testosterone. It's a gelling agent, endocrine disruptor, and it's also, what I found was really crazy is they did this study on obese children, and it was like 30 obese children and 30 thinner children. They noticed that phthalate levels were all higher in obese children than they were in thinner children. So pretty mind-blowing. Now, again, you know, causation, correlation, you know, there's always that. Not saying that phthalates, you know, make you obese, but it's crazy to think that, you know, phthalate levels are higher in people that are obese. Pretty crazy. So this next one, I'm gonna botch it, so I'm just gonna spell it, guys. PHENOXYETHANOL. Phenoxylphenol. That's my attempt, okay? So this one, again, is a preservative, antibacterial, prevents all, you know, all the bacteria and mold from forming. So, you know, what you think, okay, yeah, that's great. Obviously, you know, I don't want to be putting all this bacteria on myself, but you also don't want to be putting all this synthetic, like, terrible stuff on. And again, not saying synthetic is necessarily bad, but too much of it is not good. So this is not good for pregnant or breastfeeding. This affects breastfeeding infants' central nervous system. So my dog see the runner. She's got to protect me, you know, she's so fierce. I have a chocolate lab. Olive, hold on one second. Let me let her out of here. All of you that know labs, they think they're so fierce and they're not. So she's a freaking baby. Okay, so the phenoxylphenol can also cause skin irritation, rashes, eczema, and hives. So the next one, this one's kind of like three things. So we say no to petroleum, mineral oil, and paraffin wax. So basically, these are sealants. So a lot of people would think, oh, well, a sealant would be good in your hair because it's going to seal in the moisture, right? A lot of skincares use almost like sealants to hold in the moisture in your skin. But here's the thing, it can't get out and it can't get in. So you're also not allowing any moisture in as well. So these ingredients, the petroleum, mineral oil, paraffin wax, they're insoluble, meaning that they block moisture, water, within the skin and scalp. It clogs your scalp, it creates dandruff, and slows hair growth due to all the buildup. And, you know, we've all heard, you know, the myths of, you know, Pantene and all these companies, you know, all these drugstore products having a lot of waxes in them. So basically it causes a heavy film on the hair. So moisture can't go in, can't leave, but it does leave a shiny cosmetic finish on the hair. So it creates that, you know, beautiful shine, but it's literally all it's doing is just coating. So, and it builds up over time. And then when it's contaminated with polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which are PHAs, it causes cancer. So the next one, triclosan. So TRICLOSAN. This is another preservative, antifungal. It reduces bacterial, you know, contamination, but it is also an endocrine disruptor. It impairs our metabolism and thyroid function. And guys, I know I'm so sorry I'm going so fast, but otherwise, like, we'd be on here for like an hour and a half. And I know it's Saturday and you guys want to get about your days. So this also does not dissolve or break down easily. So it's really bad for the environment. It actually kills off microscopic bacteria that our food chain in the ocean depends on. So, and it's also linked to cancer in rats. So what I love about Monat is they're not only thinking about the health of us, but the health of the environment. And I don't know really of any other hair care line besides these supernatural organic, you know, organic brands, you know, that care about the environment. And I mean, we also recycle, you know, majority of our materials, even our boxes are recycled. I mean, I love how much they care about the environment. So triclosan obviously goes down the drain, you know, plastic little microbeads. And so what I love, like with our skincare, right, like our cranberry seed scrub, this is why ours is so great, is because since we don't use plastic microbeads and stuff, which is the next one, plastic microbeads, we do not use those. Plastic microbeads are a great exfoliant for, you know, the skin and scalp and all that stuff, but they don't break down. So it's just going down into the drain, into the oceans, into our water. So, and then we're ingesting that. And even if it's a microscopic, you know, plastic microbead, like you can't necessarily see it with the naked eye very well, it's still going into your body and your body's having to digest that. So it's, you know, terrible for the environment. So our cranberry scrub is one of those alternatives for that I, you know, personally know of. I just immediately thought cranberry scrub, because the cranberries dissolve. They don't, you know, go down. And, you know, if an animal eats a cranberry seed, it's, you know, it's not bad. So the plastic microbeads are also fillers, and they're also used in glosses. The last but not least is formaldehyde releasers. It's absolutely disgusting to think that, you know, like what our dead frogs in science class, you know, are soaking in to like stay preserved, you know, are in hair care and cosmetics. Like, it's absolutely disgusting. So it's a preservative, but it's directly linked to cancer and skin irritants, leukemia. And so here's the thing. When you're in the shower and the heat and the steam and you're using these products that are toxic, that formaldehyde is actually vaporizing, and you are breathing that in as well as getting it through your scalp. So it's like a double no-no. And again, I'm not one to bash any hair care lines, but I did research that Almay has formaldehyde releasers in it. And this was on a study based back in like 2016, 2017. So they could have changed their formulations in the last couple of years. So, you know, don't quote me on this, but Johnson & Johnson has been one of the main ones that has had formaldehyde releasers in it. And there's so many claims against Johnson & Johnson for the toxic, you know, products that they use. But that's why I say we got Monat Jr. So Bedhead's also one of the ones that has formaldehyde releasers in them. So basically, this was very mind-blowing to me to see what this stuff does to your body and to your skin, and just the fact that we have so many preservatives. And so if you look at like on Monat bottles, the Monat fan memes, she actually shared this, and I loved it, because if you see the little jar and it looks like it's like open, you know, and it says like 12, it basically says like, you know, once you open a Monat product, its shelf life's around 12 months. And that's what I love is, you know, granted, I've been using the same blowout cream for probably 2-3 years. It's probably expired, but I'm still using it because I have so much left, because our products are so concentrated, they last so long. But I love that we don't have an insanely long shelf life, because guys, there's like, if you go to TJ Maxx and you look at these like lot numbers on some of these products, you'll see that some of these have been on the shelves since like 2012. I mean, do you really want to use a hair care product that's been sitting there for 8 years? Like, that's disgusting. I mean, it's mind-blowing what these companies can get away with. But now I'm gonna hop on and look at the chat to see if there's anything that I missed. And if anybody has any questions, please comment them below. Granted, I am not a scientist, but I always say when people talk crap about Monat and talk about any ingredients that we use and saying how they're so terrible, blah, 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 you know, I always say, I'm sorry, but I'm going to trust a blogger, or I'm not going to trust a blogger over, you know, a 35-year scientist that has numerous awards, that is, you know, top of his game. I mean, Jamie Ross he is phenomenal. Let's see here. So, okay, so the cocamidopropyl betaine, okay? So, yes, I have researched where people say that the cocamidopropyl betaine, whatever, that we use, you know, is not good. Here's the thing. So, it is not good when it's mixed with certain ingredients. So, I can't pronounce the name of what it's mixed with that necessarily makes it not the best, but Monat does not mix with that. And it starts with like a P, I think. But here's the thing, like you have to have some kind of surfactant on the hair to cleanse the hair, correct? You know, we use the most gentle one that you can possibly use while still making it effective. So anyway, I think that's really the main questions that we have. The sheet, I actually just looked up Monat knows, and Monat, if you look on their page, I mean, it says Monat says no to blah, 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 blah. And so that's just the list that I went through. So I hope you guys enjoyed this chat. I hope that it was informative for you. When people say Monat causes hair loss or sores, I say hair loss is an internal thing, and sores are usually from allergic reactions. When things are more plant-based, people actually have more allergies to plants than they do to synthetic stuff because we've been like groomed with synthetics our entire lives. So I hope you all enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching. This was so fun. And I hope you all have a wonderful Saturday and wonderful Happy Mother's Day to everybody. Bye guys.